Morning, everybody. Ace of Trades here again today, February 11th, and we're trading a 2000 tick chart with 21 EMA. Bible says in John chapter 14, verse 6, Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. So my friends, there's no other way to get to heaven than through trusting in what Jesus did for you on the cross of Calvary. All right, so today we've got put my overnight high here, overnight low here. Clearly 2 legs down. We were starting to get 2 legs up here when the 8:30 news hit. So I'm not sure what that was. If that was CPI or PPI or something. But anyway, we had the news hit, and that pushed the market higher temporarily. And sometimes one thing to note with these news items is if you get a big spike in one direction or another off of them, once price settles down, um, uh, the market tends to try to take those back. Um, won't always happen, but you can see that we shot up sharply and then we slowly got more shallow and then went sideways and petered out. We pushed down here. Um, didn't really get anything. Um, went into this range here. It's starting to push out of this range a little bit. The bars are kind of big today, so got to be careful. Looks like price broke out of this range. Maybe trying to fade back in. Want to see if this push down, if this holds or not. Looks like it's pushing down again. And perhaps you get 1 leg, 2 legs attempting to retest this overnight high area. So we'll just have to keep an eye on what's going on with the price action and just follow it and see what setups it gives us. All right, I'll be back in a little while. Okay, everybody, just wanted to pop on here real quick. So we had this, we did break after we broke out of this range, then we came back down here and we formed this trend channel. You can see how prices are holding pretty good off here. And we got 1 leg up, 2 legs up. Fortunately, I wasn't at I want to say that I would have taken that, but I can't say for sure because I wasn't here. But that looks pretty good to me as you got this break of this 2-legged break of this downtrend here. Um, and as the price is pushing up, kind of rejecting off the EMA, testing again from underneath this overnight high level. Um, it looks pretty good to me. Um, there's nothing. This is not like I'm not looking at this as like a wider trend channel forming or anything. It just uh, that looks pretty good. So fortunately, I wasn't here, and now we're continuing down. Is there something? Now I would probably look at this maybe. Let's just get rid of that. Probably would look at this. We got 1 leg. We have 2 legs. However, prices may be trying to reach the overnight lows there, so we'll just have to see. I'd just be very careful about taking any more shorts at this point. That's all I got for now. I'll come back in when I got something else. All right, everybody, let's chat a bit about what's happened since we were in this area. So we were last, I was talking, we were in this area, and I was saying I think probably price is probably going to at least push down to the overnight low there, which it did, and it kind of formed another channel. But this is very like the way that this is printing. I cannot find a wider channel, a structure to trade how I like to trade. So the fact that we made 2 legs down here, we pushed out. I wouldn't be looking to short here, but you might be expecting is the price would try to push back up here. Not saying it will because it didn't here, but that's what happens when prices break out of the overnight area. They'll eventually try to fade back into it. Um, so you want to be aware of that. And I just don't see anything. One thing that we can kind of just gather though is on a larger picture, this kind of looks like all one move down for now. It's not. you have to be careful when you have the structures breaking and you continue to move down. But especially when once we broke out of the overnight low here. Um, but on a bigger picture, we might expect that this whole structure could attempt to make a new low here. Um, but after we started pushing up here, we pushed up through the EMA, we couldn't get lower, we pushed up again, we couldn't get lower. I drew this trend line here, and we hit obeyed the top, obeyed the bottom again, so that looked like a good structure to me to look at. Now here we come back now with two legs. Have to use some caution because we did try to push into the overnight high, overnight low, and that can't really say it failed because it's still obeying this structure. Um, However, going long way up here on say like a 6 point bar, whatever that is, two, it might even be like 7 or 8 points. I'm not, even though you might expect that this would continue to go up here, I'm not taking the risk on a bar that big. All right, so we don't want to pretend like every trade is a sure thing, and or not every trade, but anything we identify as a sure thing. How do I want to phrase that? That there are certain trades that are sure. Nothing is a sure thing. Okay, there are things that are high probability, but for me to take on 7, 8 points of risk, that's not for what I'm targeting for profit targets. That's not good enough for me to want to take on that much risk. Now, if like I say sometimes in my videos, if this had closed, if this had like poked out here and closed with a nice bullish bar at the bottom of this channel, then I'm interested in taking a long here because I've got plenty of room that this is going to try to do something. Um, but at this point, you know, you're like 60% or more back up into the range. So I wouldn't try to take that. You can see we struggle here. This now what we can do is this channel broke and made a new high. I wouldn't necessarily be because of how weak this has been. I wouldn't necessarily and how I want to say this channel's weak. It is obeying the channel, but it's not very steep. So based on how rapidly this pushed down and how this kind of struggled to push up rather than making a more vertical leg like that pushing up, I'm less inclined to even try to look for a long on a break of this channel because number one, we failed to push into the overnight uh, low here back up into the range. So maybe we're just failing off of that. Number two, we could possibly construe this as all one big move down on a bigger picture that's going to try to make a new low. So I'm concerned about that. So we have two strikes against us. However, now that this did break and make a new high, um, I'm looking at this as two legs up. And so I want to be careful about longs right at this moment. Um, Sometimes these channels they'll look kind of weak, but then their retest will be like super strong. And that's just I don't know why that happens, but um, that doesn't mean that it's taking over now and it's going to keep going higher. But sometimes these retests go really strong, really parabolic, and then price kind of reverses then. But that's kind of what I see for now. I don't really see had I got something here. Now, if we go to the 1,000 tick chart, and this is why I kind of use this, I wasn't looking at this at the time. Um, and it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to watch different. I'll look at them for context. I'll look at the 4,000. I'll look at the 1,000. If the 2,000s bars are too big for an extended period, or I can see clean structures on the 1,000 tick, then I'll flip over. Maybe I'll try to trade the 1,000 tick. Most of the time, though, the 1,000 tick chart is very staticky because the bars print faster, obviously. But here we have one leg, two legs, that would have probably been a good trade right there. That was more of what I was looking for on the 2000 tick chart. A close down in here somewhere, not way up here. So anyway, that's what I got for now for y'all. And yeah, I'll be back again when I see something else. All right, everybody, just a quick update here. I did, after I paused the video, I did come back here, and this does look like this is fitting very well on this wider trend, and so that could be why we are bouncing in these specific areas here, seemingly like in the middle of nowhere. So it looks like we're riding our way back up here. So we'll just have to watch if we get back up here and then we get a couple of legs back, or if we get some sort of even. You just have to be careful shorting when the bias is up. But if you get something that you're real far away from the EMA, you can really tell that prices have played out. Maybe you get like a strong lower high off of this level up here. We might be able to take a short as prices try to work their way back down here. So we'll just wait and see. I'm not really sure if I want to take if this forms a second entry. I mean, this would be testing this measured move from this side. Um, this is just kind of ugly looking, but maybe there's a second entry, second attempt here, one attempt, maybe two attempts off this level as prices try to continue pushing higher. We'll just wait for a second here and see what happens. I'm not saying that even if something sets up that I'll be enticed to take it, but we'll just wait a minute here. The way things have been going for us today, might not even get something. No, this is dumping back down at this point. So there's nothing. This failed to hold here, and even if we would get some bar here, at this point, with this leg being much stronger than this one, I don't think I really want to take anything here. So, um, looks like it's trying to push up now. So, all right, I'm going to pause the video here, and I'll come back again in a little while. Hey everybody, I just want to give you an update here. Last time we updated, I was kind of talking about maybe there's something here that go higher. What we ended up getting for this uptrend, this larger uptrend, was we ended up getting two legs back down, two measured legs, testing this overnight low, pushing back up um, to a new high for this uptrend. So you have to be, now some people um, may get honed in to just looking at this uptrend, and although you do have an overshoot, which would help you to be cautious, in the bigger picture, this bigger uptrend has already made a new high. So to look for entries to take this yet even higher is a little dangerous, because with this bigger uptrend being played out, you could just get trapped. Prices may be trying to just reverse on a macro standpoint for the day, if you can see that. So we had, like I talk about, that how the market is fractal in nature, or legs are fractions of other larger legs. So you can see all these moves up created this larger structure. And so this larger structure then had a break and pushed to a new high. So if people are trying to find entries to go higher with this uptrend here is just the retest of this larger structure. So you just have to be careful. I would not, I mean, not saying that it won't go higher,
but I'm not looking for entries to take it higher because this bigger structure has already played out. So the bigger structures will most often dominate the smaller structures. So while you may look at this thing, if you didn't find this structure here, and you were just looking at this in a microcosm and say this didn't, push out here and give an overshoot, which is this giving an overshoot is a clue anyway, just to be careful about going long. But if this didn't, people may be still looking to try to take a long here for a new high for this structure. And again, not saying it won't, but we're playing probabilities, and so the probability I think is greater that this may fail down here at least temporarily as this larger structure that we found has played out. Um, so with the size that I trade and a lot of traders like me trade, trying to take a tiny little long in here, you may temporarily get stopped out. This may end up going higher yet, but you may get stopped out here. And this is you're also pricing this is making like a very tight micro downtrend. So, you may even get trapped there. You can see that. I'll just draw it like that for now. So, yeah, so I'm not looking for anything right now as far as long. This is just in kind of a no trade zone because it may go higher, it may go lower, and we just have to wait for price to reestablish itself. And, once I saw this on the way up, if this had kind of like rocketed, given us like a bunch of consecutive green bars, say maybe like this, and then given us a correction, I'm okay with taking that because now I'm understanding that these two legs are done and this bigger structure is going to try for that new high. But it never really gives us anything good. It just kind of goes into congestion. Once it pushes up, it tries to push down, but there's nothing visible that you can take here. That's, you're just if you're going long there, you're just going long in the middle of this congestion zone, and then you get a little bit more, and then it finally just pushes higher. But it doesn't provide me with anything where I can confidently take something for a long. So that's the update for now. I'll check back in a little while. Hey everybody, back for an update. Um, so I think when we left off last, I was talking about this trend making a new high and how this one kind of had an overshoot, and I thought it was kind of not a good idea to try to look for something to see this trend get a new high because this uptrend already had a new high. But this one actually did end up pushing to no high, but as soon as it got there, um, it it immediately fell off. This bar looks nice, but I'm concerned about prices just continue to push up off the EMA and maybe push off the EMA and bounce on you there. So, um, you know, it would be a super aggressive trade to take that there. Um, I wouldn't. 9 times out of 10, I'm not gonna take that unless there's other maybe contextual things like if this had also been pushing it into some big level of resistance or something, and you had all that confluence working together, then maybe. Um, but unfortunately, this just pushes straight back down to test these overnight lows again and then bounces right off it. Did want to point out here again how some people will try to, again, construct the trend out of these two legs because they're rather uniform. So they're going, trend lines are going to, parallel trend lines are going to fit well off both sides. But again, you have two legs up. Somebody may have taken a long here off that, thinking, there's people that teach this as a reversal pattern, which I just don't agree with because these fail way too much to count reliably, especially for the type of targets that I'm going for. So you can see that bar would be ticked into the trade and then almost immediately get stopped out, depending on what target size you go for. Um, maybe you get out on the next couple bars, but I'm sure that most people will be scared to death of that and they'll just be happy to get out at break even, so they won't even try to take their target. But then it does actually push down again and stop that out. So what I was thinking perhaps might happen is that you have these two legs. I'm not looking at this as like you have this leg down and two legs. I'm not looking at this as like a short, because you do have the potential to get, trapped here into the EMA and into, prices bouncing there. Um, I'm not saying that these do not end up turning into trends, and that's why we're careful not to trade into them. But they don't turn into trends often enough for them to be reliable, high probability setups. So maybe this is like a 50, 40 to 60% trade or something. Well, that's not, based on what I'm trying to do in my trading, that's not good enough for me. So I'm not going to take those. And a lot of people that try to continuously take these types of trades will just turn into, it'll just be, um, they'll just, slowly lose their money taking those, because, maybe you win two for every three you lose or something. Or maybe you win three or four for every three you lose. Well, 50, 60% um, win rate is not good enough. Um, and then it just kind of goes sideways here. So we're just kind of in like a limbo. I thought what might happen is after these two legs and this started to fail back down, I thought, all right, well, maybe this is going to try to come back down here again. But we were just kind of in the middle of nowhere. Price is just kind of stuck in here. So I honestly have no idea what it's going to try to do. So we just wait and follow it. That's all I got for now. I'll probably update maybe in another hour. Price action has slowed down quite a bit. So unless it speeds up for some reason, um, maybe one more update around 3 and then the final at close. So I'll check in again later. Okay, everybody, quick update here because we haven't had a whole lot happen. I just want to show you. So we were around here the last time talking about how messy this range was. And what happened, so since then, once we started pushing up like this again, then I combined these two legs. Remember, we were looking at these two legs before. Combined these as one and copied that, pasted that here where the next swing low is before we get up above these highs. And so we hit that measured move. Um, I drew this line across here just to as a frame of reference for a resistance area we have. And since we got also have this leg up, and then from the double bottom off the overnight lows, we have this leg up. So, I was looking at this as maybe there's potential that this will try to push up into this measured move level. And so I was looking for, this to get away from the EMA and give me a lower high. The lower high was this ugly doji here, so I didn't take that. And then you'll see here that I noted that these two bars, so if you were watching this live, there was some news. This is right here, this is 2:45. There must have been some news at 2:45. I don't know what it was. It's not on the calendar or anything. But as this bar was finishing into the 2:45 um, time, um, this actually must have been, let me see, let me think here. So this bar, yeah, so this bar started at 2:45.49. So there's something odd happened here. But anyway, my point is that if you're watching this live, this was kind of like pushing up, and all of a sudden, at the last, as the ticks were counting down, it just flushed here at the last second. And then you can see here that this bar starts at 2:45.49. This bar starts at 2:45.50. This one starts at 56. This one starts at 02. So these three bars, 1, 2, 3, these all print. This one printed in a second. This one printed in 6 seconds. That one printed in 6 seconds. This one printed in 12 seconds. So there was just no way. I was looking for something here. If you see this on a static chart, I made this note to myself here just because if I go back in time and I'm like reviewing my charts, not going to be able to tell, like, this looks really good. It is a really good entry to go short here because you've got a confluence of measured moves up here into a resistance zone, and then you see prices moving down, and then this closes strongly below the EMA. But you just don't have time to get into this trade. So even if you see somebody doing some sort of end of day chart review and they mark this as a trade, guess what? There's no way they took that trade or anybody else could take it because it just closed this just happened too fast. You weren't even expecting it. This was still pumping up. There's no reason you'd have your orders sitting out ready to go short. It just kind of went boom, 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 real quick, and there was no time to get in that. So, yeah, I was waiting for something here, couldn't get in that, and then, was kind of thinking, all right, maybe this is flipping around now off this. Maybe we're going to start moving back down. Maybe this whole area here is becoming a range in itself. And so we had this big flush down from some news item, I don't know what. We pushed back up, and then we're kind of grinding into congestion here as we're trying to push down lower. So there's nothing in here you want to take. Some people may see this like tiny little lower high print here, but I don't want to take that. I mean, this closed higher. Yeah, this went all the way up here, but we still closed higher, and you're shorting. Maybe this ends up being a potential swing, and yeah, it visually it looks nice, but maybe um, there's another leg upcoming. So I don't want it. It's just ugly looking, and you recognize that after years of experience, I'd say. So you can see even there, that's really ugly. If you happen to get into that trade, I would try to get out when it does that. It can't push any lower. Then you're going green there. It does end up finally, well, I mean, depending on what you're going for, you probably want to get out of that if you got into that and started going sideways like that. Um, yeah, I wouldn't enter that. So, yeah, this was a nice trade here, except there's no way you can take it. Um, but so that's about it. So probably just looking at the 4 p.m. update now with about an hour to go, and it's turning sluggish here. So I'll just stop there and come back at the end.
All right, everybody. Market's closed for about 15 minutes or so. Just making this update to wrap up the video. So, one interesting thing here I wanted to point out. Um, let's see. So we were in this area last time. Price was just kind of grinding down, and we had this what looks like a big leg down here. So I had a second leg drawn. And then what I realized is that this whole flush here was just based on um, some sort of news that came out. So this is a rare thing that happens once in a while. When news comes out, it causes these wild swings temporarily. And what can happen is you can see here if it weren't for this push through, you'd have a nice clean channel here. And so sometimes what news will do is it will cause prices to violate a channel that would have been forming. And so I had this trend like this, but what I noticed is that price is not ever making it back down to the bottom. But I noticed that if I move this up, um, that this channel would fit very nicely. So what I was looking for was maybe a break of the channel to get in with. And we got this, and then we just went into congestion here, spiked up, big bear bar right into the EMA. Can't take that. Pushes down, and then it pushes up, makes a bullish, like lower high. I mean, I could say it's bullish because the bar closes higher than that one, even though it's like a bearish looking hammer bar. Um, and then we just kind of push sideways, and you can see now based on the time down there that
you're only 2 or 3 minutes before the close, so I'm not going to take any entries with the chance that you can get some sort of volatility as the market closes up for the day, and who knows what type of earnings or whatever might come out right then, and just cause some wild swings. So we can see that we have this downtrend break, and it does push down to a new low there, and then is starting to reverse now um, after market. So yeah, unfortunately, we just had there was would have been a couple nice entries for the day. Here, if I had been at the chart when this had originally printed, as you can see back earlier in the video how this set up nice. But then when I reloaded the data, um, the bars uh, manifested differently. So that's what happened to me here. This is a very nice setup off this uptrend, but before I had reloaded the data, this bar, this setup bar closed like way up here. So as I explained in the video, I wasn't willing to take on like 7 or 8 points of risk um, to capture the amount of points I go for. So this ended up breaking two legs, and then, well, I explained it in the video. No reason to have this uh, go on much longer. So I think that's it. This was just one interesting thing here, and the problem with these is by the time you realize that um, this is not, you know, part of the channel, um, it takes quite a bit of price action to print in order for you to be comfortable with that. Almost certainly you have to push down by the lows, past the lows of this, and then that's about the time when I saw this pushing down into here. That's about the time I pulled this up and thought, that's probably a channel there. So that's it. And that was a nice trade there if you could have got in that, which very difficult. Probably 99 times out of 100 you won't because it just printed too fast. So we'll be back again tomorrow. So have a good rest of the evening.